Hello. Are you Warcry curious? Do you want to know what Warcry is? Is it as good as people are saying? In this video I am going to tell you what Warcry is and why you should play it. Welcome in, people of the tube! Let's go! My name is Peter Tuber, this is Age of Miniatures, and today I am going to tell you everything you need to know about Warcry. So, what is Warcry? It is a skirmish game produced by Games Workshop. You play with a small warband consisting of about 10 fighters. In most games you play against one opponent. The objectives vary from game to game, but most of the time it includes objectives or a treasure you need to capture or something like that. The game is played on quite a small map with a few terrain pieces. And what is cool about Warcry is that the vertical terrain is actually quite useful and makes the game really fun when you can climb up terrain, jump down and chuba! The game also uses the I go, you go system, which is quite different from Age of Sigmar or 40k. So that means when you have moved one fighter, it is my turn to move one fighter. This makes it a bit more fast-paced, and you always have to be aware what is going on and what your opponent is doing. So you don't have those crazy long moments where you're just waiting, when the heck is it going to be my turn? In Warcry, each fighter has a fighter card detailing their attacks and their point cost. Each fighter is also part of a warband, and the warband has a card detailing what fighters are in it and what abilities the fighters can use. Warcry also uses a weird symbol system where it's never written what fighter can use what abilities, but you have to look at the icons and sort of piece it together. From a visual standpoint, that is cool, but in-game it can be a bit annoying. That is mainly because some of the icons truly look like each other, making it slightly confusing. Other than random match play, one-off mission or open play games, you can also play a campaign in the narrative mode. And the campaign is where Warcry truly shines, especially if you have the expansion in the Tome of Champions. So, what makes Warcry amazing? First of all, the rules are simple. As in, they are dead simple. So simple that you might wonder, where is the crunch? Where is sort of the meat of this game? The meat of the game is in the movement and the way you position your fighters. When your warband appears on the battle map, they will appear in 3 different places and might not come in at the same time. When selecting what fighters goes in what formation, the dagger, shield and hammer, this is quite a lot where the tactic comes in. The tactic also comes in the movement and the way you engage your opponent. Rushing in and trying to kill him off while being cool is not necessarily the best way to win. What I think makes Warcry amazing is that it is very simple to pick up, but it has quite a lot of depth. Also, the barrier of entry is very small. A warband is quite cheap. You don't need to paint a lot of fighters. You don't need a lot of space to play Warcry, and you can play Warcry in as little as half an hour to 40 minutes. The ability mechanic of the game, and the way the initiative role works, is also what makes this game quite juicy. Of course, there are also some drawbacks to Warcry. You can read my review for a more detailed look at what I think is wrong with the system. But all in all, it is by far my favorite Games Workshop game, maybe that they have ever produced. I find that I'm just more into small, fast skirmish games than big army battles. It might be because I'm getting older and my time seems to vanish into thin air, so when I need to play, it needs to be quick, and it needs to not drain my head as much as I wanted to in the past. At times you can have a situation where one of the players can win in the first turn without the other opponent can do anything about it. That's a real shame. If you hate that sort of stuff, you need to play the match play games. But I have found that even though I find this bit annoying, there's an easy way to combat it. What you simply do is agree with each other that you reroll the game and set up from the bottom. But the best thing about Warcry is clearly the campaign part. It is the narrative, it is the stories you can make with this great game. So if that is your jam, definitely try out Warcry. So, What do you need to play Warcry? The best way of getting started is getting your hand on one of the starter sets. The original starter set is sadly sold out and no longer produced, but a new one will be out soon if it is not already out. That is called Catacombs, and it looks very sweet. It has a more of indoor combat feel than the last one, but it's really one of the cheapest ways to get everything you need. So what you need is a warband and the cards for them. Some of the warbands you can just buy one box, get the cards, and you're ready to go. That will be the warbands that are made specifically for Warcry. Some of the warbands are made of the Age of Sigmar armies, where you pick individual fighters from units that you can use. If you already got an Age of Sigmar army, that is a really good way to go. You will of course need the cards for the warband. Some of them might be sold out and hard to get your hand off, but if you buy the Tome of Champions book, all of the first wave of the warband cards are printed in there. If you check out the written version of my Warcry beginner's guide, I will list them all there, so it's easier to figure out for you. Besides the warband with your warband cards, you will also need some terrain and a map to play it on. I have earlier made a video about picking out some terrain. Other than that, you only need some 6-sided dice and a ruler that measures inches. Oh yeah, and of course you also need an opponent. The rules are essential to play the game, and everything is included in the core book. You have a few supplements that you might consider getting. The monsters and mercenaries is not something I would suggest getting off the bat. It is mainly if you want to expand what options you have in the game. The Tome of Champions, on the other hand, is a really good purchase if you want to play the campaign, because it expands on the campaign rules and makes them a lot better. In Warcry you have the free ways to play as you do in the other Games Workshop games. That means you have open play where you use the random cards and you put together a random crazy scenario and you play it and you laugh. In Warcry you also have the match play. In match play the scenarios are not as wonky and random, so you will get a bit more of a competitive game. Narrative play is campaign mode and telling a story mode, and this is where Warcry truly shines. If you have found this video helpful, consider subscribing. My videos are aimed at beginners into miniature games and miniature painting, so consider subscribing if that sounds like something you would like. On my website I got a ton of Warcry content. In fact, we have done a guide for each warband in Warcry, and there are a lot. Subscribe and like.